Good morning, everybody. I wanted to pop in because I had a conversation yesterday with a client of mine who is starting to do sales in China, which is absolutely fabulous. And we were talking about the workflow, so the actual operational system from a paperwork perspective. And I wanted to touch on this today because it is so important to get the paperwork right as well as the Fapiao system correct. And I wanted to use a case study to actually show what are the possibilities, what you need to think about, and what you need to do. So if you've got your company in China and you are starting to do B2B sales, whether it's in service, whether it's in trade, you have to think about a few things. One of them is having a contract. Now, we were having a discussion yesterday about what a contract means. And it's important to understand what you are doing already now in terms of your own system. So you can have a contract in place per customer that you have, or with every purchase order that you create, you can have the terms and conditions sheet, which actually is the contract and has the liability clauses that are within there. Of course, if the volume of your business is going up with a single customer, you should think about a master contract or a master agreement so that you have that in place. But ultimately, you can have a contract or you can have a purchase order together with the terms and conditions attached to it. Very important to make sure that you've got those terms and conditions in Chinese. As you are a foreign investor, you should have it bilingually in English and Chinese, so you have the ability to read what's inside there. And it's always my recommendation to get it checked and reviewed by a third party, again, whether a corporate service provider or lawyer, to be able to give you tips on tax implications, product default implications, etc. So you're aware of what's happening on that side. Then comes the Fapiao. And there are two ways to initiate the whole Fapiao aspect around transacting in China. So one is, first of all, outlining the payment terms. So whether it's 100% upfront, prepayment, whether it's 30% down payment, 70% upon delivery, whether it's 50-50, whether it's 70 upfront, 30 upon delivery, whatever you're negotiating, right? Your customer is going to say, well, I won't pay until I get the Fapiao. But that's not a mandatory operational process. So as this customer is saying, you give me the Fapiao. Upon receipt of that Fapiao, within 24, 48, 72 hours, I will make a payment to you, okay? Or what you can do is issue a pro forma invoice in Word, Excel, created by you. You receive the payment, and upon receipt of the payment, you issue the Fapiao. Now, why am I recommending that latter system? I'm recommending that latter system particularly for startups that are in China who are in dire need of financial controlling, where you have to check your cash balances, because the minute you issue the Fapiao, you are going to be paying VAT. You will be liable for that without having received any funds from your customer. And what happens if the customer never pays? What happens if the customer is delayed by 90 days? You have put up that upfront cash for that VAT liability, which is obviously going to be deducted by your purchases. But still, it's something that gets out of your cash flow and is not nice when you're struggling initially, right? So I always say, wait for the funds to arrive and you use those funds to be able to contribute to your VAT liability. It's just a secure and protective measure to start off your business. And eventually, as you grow, you can change your operational processes. Operational processes are flexible things within your organization that can be adapted over time, depending on how your business is growing. But particularly for those of you that are in the startup phase, this is what I would recommend, is issuing a pro forma invoice first, asking for payment, and then issuing the official Fapiao to your customer upon receipt of payment. So those are the two things I want to highlight in terms of actually starting transacting in China, is think about your contract terms and conditions, make sure you've got them. And then think about how you're going to operate from a Fapiao flow so that it doesn't affect your cash flow and you don't run into any issues. You might be asking yourself, well, what happens if a customer never pays and a Fapiao has been issued? If that happens, you have 90 days from the date of issuance of that Fapiao to cancel it. It is a pain for the person who's doing that canceling in terms of all the explanations and paperwork that has to be given to the tax bureau. We always say if you issue a Fapiao, let's say in July, you want to be able to cancel it in July. It makes life a lot easier to do it within the same month. Hardly any explanations have to be provided. So these are certain tidbits in terms of how to manage the tax bureaus, how to manage your workflow and your operational processes, and then educating your team in China on how you would like things to happen, how your team should be negotiating with your customers in terms of the Fapiao flow, payment flow, etc. I hope this has helped, and if you've got any further questions about VAT and Fapiaos and operational systems, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care, have a lovely afternoon, goodbye.